I have never enjoyed 911 Nashville as much as I do now. And it is entirely related to Eddie and Buck's appearance in Spirit of the Games, Season 1 Episode 12. I find Nashville to be a touch too soapy in Dynasty. Therefore, the dynamic that we are witnessing on the broadcast is immediately altered when Buck and Eddie join the scene. The camaraderie that Nashville had been lacking was evident, and everything seemed a little lighter and more lighthearted. Do you want to review where we left off? Check out our analysis of 911. Nashville Season 1 Episode 11, Dawn Begins. I have a ton of notes regarding Buck and Eddie. For starters, Eddie and Buck were always attached to one another. Stuck at the hip at the firehouse, at the games, or even at the bar. It also demonstrated that their link is cosmic regardless of where they move. They were also incredibly generous husband and wife. Did you notice how Eddie chose Buck's attire so they could leave? What about the altercation in which Eddie locked in and Blue shoved Buck? I observed that. You observed that. We observed that. The possibility that Buck slept with Dixie in the end doesn't really concern me. 911. Buck and Eddie travel to Nashville for the Fireman Games in Spirit of the Games. As Ryan and Dawn display their competitive sides, tensions increase. Blue is compelled to enter the competition on Dawn's behalf after he hurts his hand. That won't result in anything. Buck and Eddie will return to Los Angeles and everything will work out. Well, except from the kidnapping that was hinted at in the 911 next week. Do I wish Buck and Dixie hadn't flirted? Indeed. I find it annoying that the 911 universe keeps promoting the idea that Buck is just hypersexual. However, this is just a blip. Eddie and Buck were the highlights of Spirit of the Games, and they frequently sounded like the voice of the audience. That is me, who has been discussing how pricey this firehouse is and how Blue is a nepo baby. As I already stated, this is my favorite part of the Dawn and Station 113 of it all. And it has to do with the fact that Eddie and Buck gave the show the brightness and happiness it lacked. Dawn and the other members of the 911 Nashville ensemble seemed a little out of character in my opinion. I'll acknowledge that. Don's initial remarks and his rivalry with Ryan over the other firefighters truly escaped my notice. However, it is still true that I was able to perceive them as a team in this episode in a manner that I had never seen before. Nashville must cling to what Eddie and Buck convey, found family. Athena landed a plane and, most significantly, they traveled to space since 911 had a Beto. And because of the found family aspect of it all works despite the show's absurdity. As a program, they frequently get lost and I constantly question their characters on my podcast, Tales from the 118. However, the fact remains that their strong bones are the reason I keep returning. And found family is the foundation of those bones. Nashville needs to use their own personalities to capitalize on 911. 911. Buck and Eddie travel to Nashville for the Fireman Games in Spirit of the Games. As Ryan and Dawn display their competitive sides, tensions increase. Blue is compelled to enter the competition on Dawn's behalf after he hurts his hand. I adore that Spirit of the Games recognized Blue's nepotism. It won't change the beginning of this show. However, the fact that they are aware that they may have gotten off to a rough start makes me admire the show even more. One of the first steps to recovery is acknowledgement. So this episode I was a little more forgiving to Blue. And I truly appreciated his unwavering kindness and consideration. And he was more of a gentle soul than a rustic bumpkin. Those I am able to collaborate with. Do I know what 911 Nashville will do next? No. Dixie was even getting along with my diva and queen, Blythe. If anything, Dixie's desire for Dawn will be the one to bring issues. Because Blythe has him, I believe she wants him. Additionally, since I don't like Dawn, I believe he should just move aside so that Blythe and Dixie can actually discuss the tension that is developing between them. Because when combined, those two ladies may be extremely strong. However, Nashville is too cowardly to really travel there. However, I'm sure there is fanfiction.